Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Senator Joel Villanueva accuses Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla of harassment after Remulla announced plans to enforce a nearly decade-old dismissal order linking Villanueva to the pork barrel scandal. Remulla, however, dropped his bid after finding out his predecessor had already dismissed the said order.
And the Independent Commission for Infrastructure will not push through with its promised live stream next week as hearings are postponed due to the unavailability of Commissioner Rogelio Singson. The ICI says it will use the time to study and draft the rules of procedure and parameters of the live streaming.
And the lower chamber has reactivated a panel created by the 17th Congress to ensure that all congressmen submit their respective SALNs. A lawmaker has also suggested posting SALNs in the House's website or Facebook page to simplify the process.
We were surprised by the decision. Nobody was raising that issue before. Joel Villanueva kept quiet through all the years. Ombudsman Martinez never spoke about it. Diba?
Ombudsman Boying Remulla backpedals on his call for the Senate to implement a 2016 order to dismiss Senator Joel Villanueva from service. This was after Remulla himself confirmed that former Ombudsman Samuel Martires had reversed the ruling on Senator Villanueva's case in 2019. Martires' predecessor, Conchita Carpio Morales, ordered in 2016 to dismiss Villanueva from service because of malversation of public funds and falsification of documents with regard to PDAF funds when he was still a congressman. In an interview this morning, Remulla said he intended to ask Senate President Tito Soto to enforce Villanueva's dismissal. But Villanueva immediately released documents saying his case had been dismissed. Remulla, however, lamented how how Martires had seemingly kept the reversal of the case secret because apparently it was not published.
We were surprised by the decision. Lumabas lang siya nung sinabi kong may gagawin ang ombudsman tungkol dyan. Nobody was raising that issue before. Joel Villanueva kept quiet through all the years. Ombudsman Martinez never spoke about it.
Meantime, Remulla has this to say about Villanueva's claim that he is being harassed.
It's not harassment. It's something that everybody thinks to be still valid. That can turn out to be not valid anymore due to a secret decision. Dapat kasi, hindi naman na-publish yan, hindi yan nilabas. Nobody knew about it.
Now, all this happened just as the Senate is slated to hear the proposed budget of the Office of the Ombudsman for 2026. Let's discuss this with mobile journalist Merimon Reyes, who reports to us live from the Senate. First, Merimon, can you explain in detail the documents Senator Joel Villanueva released to prove his case that the Ombudsman had already dismissed the order?
Good evening, ladies. When the media asked Senator Joel Villanueva for a comment on the pending letter to be written by Ombudsman Remulla and supposedly tomorrow to be given personally to Senate President Tito Soto, Senator Joel Villanueva gave the media a copies of certifications or clearances from the Office of the Ombudsman and from the Sandigan Bayan. At dito pinapakita na etong si Senator Joel Villanueva, he does not have any pending administrative nor criminal charges. Though hindi masyadong pinaliwanag ng senador kung kailan at paano ito final, bakit siya humingi agad. And pero ang sinabi niya lang, he anticipated the harassment, also the fake news that may be circulated regarding this matter. And bukod dyan, sinabi rin ng senador na he is also planning to file charges against those who are spreading fake news regarding the issue being tackled today. Ladies.
Okay, Merimon, paano raw nasabi ni Senator Joel Villanueva that this is all just harassment?
So far, Pauline, walang ibang explanation na binigay si Senator Joel regarding this one. Basta sinabi niya, he anticipated harassment and the fake news. Sabi niya, self-explanatory naman na raw yung mga dokumento which he was pertaining to the clearances from the Sandigan Bayan, from the Office of the Ombudsman. And when us from the media asked him for further comment explaining bakit siya kumuha ng clearance, parang napaaga yata kasi around the first week of September yung clearance in-issue. Wala siyang naging ibang pagpapaliwanag dito. Pero nung lumabas naman na hindi na ipagpapatuloy ni Ombudsman Remulla yung pagsusulat niya sa sa Senado, to enforce the dismissal order against Senator Villanueva, parang nagpasalamat lang muna siya doon sa, he expressed his thanks dahil doon sa group chat niya with members of the press, finorward namin doon yung advisory. We were asking for his comment, pero nagpasalamat lang siya. So we're looking into it as if it was good news to the senator na hindi matutuloy itong pag-e-enforce ng ombudsman via the Senate ng dismissal order laban kay Senator Joel.
Okay, Mary Mon, ano naman ang sinabi ni Senate President Tito Soto? Because if we look back, nung si Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales issued this dismissal against Joel Villanueva, 2016 yon, Soto was the majority leader and he was the one who filed the motion to defy this order.
Yes, exactly, Shawn. And none of the senators during that time actually did not vote did not vote against that motion of during that time Majority Floor Leader Senator Tito Soto. However, dapat for today, ang sabi ni SP Soto, no comment muna daw siya until the communication from Ombudsman Remulla will be received, which was supposedly expected to happen tomorrow. Once the Office of the Ombudsman will be tackling with the Senate Finance Committee its proposed 2026 its 2026 budget. However, ngayon naman na hindi na natuloy itong pagsusulat ni Ombudsman Remulla, sabi pa rin ni SP Soto, no comment pa rin daw siya. Pero we'll be checking in with him tomorrow once na nandito na si Ombudsman Remulla. And we'll see if this matter will be opened once the plenary session returns by November 10 next month.
Mary Mon, anong update sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee chairmanship?
So far, says 99, naging 100% pa na sinabi ni Senate President Tito Soto na tinatanggap at nababalik na raw si Senator Ping as Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman. Though ang sinabi rin ni SP Soto dito is yung takot daw na possibly magkaroon ng shake-up sa Senate leadership, na magkaroon ng pagtanggal sa kanya mula sa pagiging SP. Matagal niya na raw naman niyang hinarap na, isinantabi niya na raw yan, and he serves at the pleasure of his fellow senators. So whether major role man daw ang meron siya o magiging regular senator lang siya, he'll continue performing his duties and responsibilities. Yun nga lang, so far, wala pa talagang yung final confirmation from Senator Ping if tunay nga bang babalik siya. Pero ang sabi rin ni SP Soto, nung nag-uusap daw sila ni Senator Ping, na bring up pa rin yung issue na yung topic na baka lang mayroong consequences na mangyari o magkaroon ng impact ito sa current composition ng Senado. Pero yan yung isa sa mga abangan natin kasi ang sabi ni SP, by November 10, pag bumalik na ang plenary sessions dito, mafa-formalize at mafa-finalize na raw kung babalik ka talaga, itong si Senator Ping as Blue Ribbon Committee Chair. Whereas acting chairman na Senator Erwin Tulfo, ang huling nasabi niya, they'll be proceeding doon sa naging direksyon na supposedly iniwan ni Senator Ping, which was still inviting former Congressman Zaldico, and then also si former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. So we'll see kung paano nga ba magiging direksyon nito. Pero si Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano, ang sabi niya kanina, wini-welcome niya yung possible na pagbabalik ni Senator Ping. Pero ang request lang daw talaga nila from the minority is yung magiging direksyon ng Blue Ribbon Committee, na sana raw ang matugis talaga ba yung mastermind o kung ano lang daw ba yung lalabas, yun lang ba yung tutugisin, yun yung ilan sa mga nais niyang maituwid daw. Kaya sana yung opposition, administration, blocks daw, magkaroon daw ng pag-uusap dito para mas maging malinaw ang direksyon ng komite.
Okay, we thank you for your time and your report. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reporting to us live from the Senate. Now at this point, we talk to former Senate President Franklin Drilon, who joins us via Zoom. Good evening to you, Senator Drilon.
Good evening to all of you, and I'm glad to be here in your program.
Okay, I'm an outlaw. Anyway,
you must make a full disclosure. Hearing the same surname, you know.
Indeed, my husband is a second cousin of Senator Drilon. Tama ba? Former husband.
I didn't even know that.
Senator, you were Senate President pro tempore when the upper chamber voted in favor of junking the order of the ombudsman in the case of Senator Villanueva. What was the reason for your vote? It was unanimous.
The reason is that under the Ombudsman Act, and particularly Section 2 of that Act, when it states who are the officials subject to the disciplinary power of the Ombudsman, members of Congress were exempted. And this is the law and consistent with the Constitution that the members of Congress cannot be questioned in any other place, meaning they can be questioned in the Senate by the senators or by the congressmen in Congress, which means that Senator Joel Villanueva can be questioned on his actions. The action of the Senate is merely a compliance with what the law stated and our Constitution, that the Ombudsman has no jurisdiction has no jurisdiction over a member of Congress insofar as disciplinary action is concerned, and it is up to the Senate now to act on Villanueva's issue.
Yeah. That's in Section 21. Pero what propelled, well, of course, you can't speak for her, but Carpio Morales saw it fit to issue that order.
Well, I don't think that's the opinion of the Ombudsman, and the Senate at that time maintained its opinion that, yes, the Ombudsman has no jurisdiction as by virtue of the express provision of the law and the Constitution.
Okay, but then why did not the Senate Senate Ethics Committee, there was no complaint? Did you not see it fit to do this in the case of Senator Villanueva?
I do not recall being the chairman, and I was not the chairman of the Ethics Committee, and I do not recall that I was a member of that committee.
But let's go to the act of Ombudsman Martires reversing the order and the secretive way that he did it. It wasn't published.
I cannot speak for Mr. Barker, obviously. And I didn't even know about this order that he issued.
Also, shouldn't it came belated shouldn't the action of the Ombudsman Martires have been speedier, and should there have been more transparency? Should it have been triggered by a motion for reconsideration? And according to the rules, they should be timely when the order is made in 2016 pa.
I'm sorry,
batas
Ses.
dyan? Anong batas po dyan, Senator?
I'm sorry, Ses. I'm really a private citizen. I have no access to the records of the Ombudsman.
Yes. But what does the law say about the procedure? Ano bang dapat na batas?
I'm sorry, but I have to review the law. I don't have it on the tips of my finger. I have never been involved with the Ombudsman's office.
Senator, ganito na lang. Can I ask you a theoretical question? I know na there was a lot of back and forth and this is not going to happen anymore. But in your opinion, could it actually still happen? And what I'm referring to is, can the current Senate, the 20th Senate, still rehash this case because nobody acted on it during your time, like you said? Is it like their moral responsibility to do that, or do they have an actual constitutional responsibility to do that?
Well, theoretically, anybody can file a complaint today in the Senate, and the same will be referred to the Ethics Committee. It has never been tackled by the Ethics Committee.
So that's the process. Everything from the ombudsman, from a private citizen, it all has to be referred to Ethics Committee.
Again?
all the complaints filed against any senator, whether from the ombudsman or from private citizens, they should all be coursed or referred to the ethics committee?
If it involves the behavior of the senator, yes, it will be referred to the Committee on Ethics for reporting so that the Ethics Committee can investigate and report its findings to the plenary, and the senators will approve or disapprove these findings of the Ethics Committee on a particular complaint.
So in this case, I'm referring to the flood control scandal where some senators were named as being part. Can a private citizen go to the Ethics Committee of the Senate and make a complaint?
Yes, this is a public issue, and these are public records. And certainly there is nothing that will prevent a private citizen from filing an ethics complaint in the Senate against Villanueva and whoever else is involved. And this will be referred by the Senate to the Ethics Committee because the Ethics Committee would have jurisdiction.
Well, actually, Senator, even if this happened in 2016, former Justice Antonio Carpio did point out that there is no prescriptive period, so it could possibly be tackled again. And in fact, he recommends that Ombudsman Remulla could take this up with the Supreme Court, and they could be the final arbiter. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, looking back, there was never an ethics case filed against Villanueva, and therefore, a case can be filed against him today.
And other senators dragged into the scandal.
I'm sorry?
And
Yes.
other senators na involved. Pwede.
The only guy they cannot file an ethics case is Senator Drilon, which is no longer a member.
But, Senator, of
Yes.
course, can colleagues pass judgment on their fellow colleagues? I mean, you saw how Senator Lacson had to give up his position as chair of the Blue Ribbon Committee because of some noise from other senators.
Your question is, what can the
Can
Senator-
other senators, can we trust other senators to pass judgment on fellow senators in the Ethics Committee? It's a
This says it is not a question of your confidence. It's not a question of your trust. It's a question of the Constitution and the law.
And to your experience, does that happen often, and how do these cases end up being judged?
I have not had the opportunity, and there's nothing that came up in the Senate plenary about an ethics case against a senator when I was there.
Is that shocking to you, Senator Drilon? You've been in the Senate for, I mean, you had a long career in there. Not a single one made it to the plenary?
Again, not a single ethics
Not
case?
a single, ethics case was discussed.
What ethics cases filed, if I may ask?
No, that's, I mean, I'm actually wondering about the fact that there was none during your tenure in the Senate.
Because I am not aware that an ethics case was filed against any senator by a complainant. So,
This would be a test case then. This would be a test case if
you're free to do that.
yes.
You're free to do that.
Yes. You know, the reason we're asking, Senator, impatient na ang taong bayan. They want results, and I'm speculating here, but this is why perhaps Ombudsman Remulla, announced this, wanting to show the public that, we're going after wrongdoing here. In fact, meron na ngang kulungan para sa mga flood control accused, pero wala pang kaso. I mean,
Alam mo, may sinusunod tayong saligang batas. May sinusunod tayong proseso. At hindi ko sinasabing may kasalanan si Juan or si Pedro, ngunit kung mayroon mang pagkukulang, dapat sampahan ng kaso para i-process ang reklamo ng ating mga mamamayan. So what is wrong with us today is that we the people are angry because of the impunity that they see. People commit crimes or transgressions and they do not get punished.
Yeah.
That is why people are angry and impatient. But in the process of being angry and impatient, we should not throw away the institutions that are there to exact accountability. We should strengthen them. I am in favor of giving the ombudsman more budget so that they can hire more lawyers. When I was in the Senate, I added 2 branches to the Sandigan Bayan in order to expedite the trial of these cases. The Supreme Court today should take a more active hand in making sure that our justice system will work so that those who committed wrongs can be punished. We can no longer adopt the attitude that of the Supreme Court that they have passive
Yes. Yes.
attitudes. It can no longer be that. And let me tell Sego, the office of the president should take a more active hand in the prosecution. Unfortunately, our executive secretary thinks that he is still in the judiciary. He does not act quickly and decisively because his outlook, I suspect, is that still of a chief justice, and will wait, for the pleadings to be filed, etc., etc. I would strongly suggest to Secretary Bersamin that he should take a more active hand, a more
Like how? What?
pro-
Name
what?
a single thing he can do right now to speed up the process.
Right now, he cannot do anything because there is no complaint filed yet.
Okay, but Senator, before the Senate, you did mention that instead of adding more bodies, more layers to the bureaucracy, we should be strengthening the ombudsman, all these bodies that should be adjudicating and serving justice. But right now, what do you see the value of the ICI is?
But the value of the ICI is that it can assist the ombudsman in gathering and investigating, in gathering information, investigating. Given the environment that we are in today, the ICI is trusted by the people to gather and investigate so that we can punish those who are guilty. That's what I see to be the role of the ICI today.
Okay. Now let me go back, Senator, to your comment about the Supreme Court. What can it do instead of its passive attitude in this national crisis that can somehow, speed up the process or intervene in some manner?
You require a thesis.
Well, how about forming a special division of the Sandigan Bayan to handle?
Sorry?
I've heard
Sorry?
that before. Yung formation po ng a special division of the Sandigan Bayan to tackle these flood control anomalies. Is that
Yes,
something?
that can be, no, well, immediately, what, for example, they can do is the moment cases are filed in the Sandigan Bayan, the Supreme Court can clear the docket of one of the divisions and just have all the cases filed by the ombudsman in relation to the flood control anomaly in that particular branch, so that it can be expeditiously heard, tried, and decided. Things can be done, or on the longer term, if the case load justifies it, then we create additional
Courts.
in the Sandigan.
And just going back to what happened yesterday over at the Senate, Senator Drilon, you had a really nice rapport or parry with the former Chief Justice Puno about how much teeth the ICI / the Independent Commission, if that is formed, should have. Because he wants it to have prosecutorial powers, and you disagreed because we already have institutions for that. Tell us more about why it should remain just a fact-finding body.
Under our Constitution, the Ombudsman is supposed to conduct investigation. That is why you have a fact-finding division in the Ombudsman and file cases in the Sandigan Bayan were warranted. This is our Constitution. Now, you cannot go against this. You cannot pass a law which will change this. That's why I was suggesting that we should strengthen the Ombudsman. If we do not like that system, let's change our Constitution. That's all I'm saying. But in the meantime that we have this setup, we have to follow it, because precisely that's our problem in our setup. If we don't like it, we don't follow it. So that's why it has resulted in a culture of impunity, and this massive corruption that we see is because we are not consistent with our obedience to the law, to the legal processes, and therefore we get into a mess that we are in today.
Following your thinking about, the necessity to increase the budget of our institutions pertaining to the delivery of justice, bukas, itatakal ng Senate ang budget ng Ombudsman. Pwede pa bang dagdagan yon bukod sa nakalagay na sa NEP? Kasi baka naman ituring na insertion.
No, precisely, you're bringing that up. It is a valid function of the members of Congress to amend the General Appropriations Bill. And here is one classic example. If the Senate decides that we should increase the budget of the Ombudsman as it should increase, is that an insertion? The answer is yes. Is that valid? The answer is yes.
Okay.
So,
let's term it amendment.
I'm sorry?
Let's term it as an amendment and not insertion.
It's amendment or insertion, the same.
The same ba? Okay, Senator Drilon.
Whether it is Ces Oreña or Ces Oreña-Drilon, it's the same.
Senator, I'd like to ask you how it was, what a tough balancing act it was to be Senate President. Because now it is said, it is the belief that if Senator Lacson returns to the Blue Ribbon Committee, Tito Soto is in danger of losing the Senate presidency.
Well, when Ping resigned, I said it was a king's gambit, an effort that he sacrificed himself to save the king. So that...
Yeah. Pero now, paano yan?
So, I do not know what is the latest. I just read and hear from coffee shop talk and from the media that Ping is going to return. So if he does, I'm sure that backroom and discussions were done, and Ping, I assume, has satisfactorily explained what are the circumstances which caused the dissatisfaction of his colleagues at that time.
Senator, when the Blue Ribbon Committee resumes its hearings on the flood control anomalies, what do you want to see happen? Are there still any missing links to this widespread systematic crime involved in this scandal for you?
I would like to see the Blue Ribbon being able to assist in the investigation of this anomaly, so that it can be expeditiously prosecuted before the Ombudsman and the Sandigan Bayan. And I would like to see from the Blue Ribbon what kind of policies they can promulgate through amendments to the Sandigan Bayan law, so that the cases can be expedited in terms of investigation and trial.
All right, with that, Former Senate President Franklin Drilon, we thank you so much for your insights into the law.
Right, now from the Senate, let's head on to the lower chamber. House Speaker Boji D has released his SALN, exposing not only millions of assets, but also 16 relatives in public office.
The Ilocano lawmaker has also regenerated the chamber's SALN review panel to ensure that all of his colleagues' wealth are open to the public. News 5's congressional reporter Marian Enriquez reports.
The House of Representatives on Tuesday has reconstituted its Review and Compliance Committee for Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN. This was the panel created by the 17th Congress to ensure that all congressmen submit their respective SALNs. It also has the power to file show cause orders against lawmakers who refuse to publicize their wealth. Reviving the panel, House Speaker Boji D said reinforces the chamber's commitment to earlier memorandums, ensuring the proper filing, review, and public access to their SALNs. Deputy Speaker Ferdinand Hernandez was appointed committee chair, while Representatives Lawrence Defensor and Miro Kimbo were designated as vice chairpersons. So far, there are at least 10 lawmakers in the lower chamber who have already publicized their SALN. The speaker led the list with 121 million peso worth of total assets. That includes 12 agricultural properties and 4 residential lots and homes. Some were bought in the 1990s, while others were inherited. What particularly stands out in his SALN, however, is the number of relatives he has in public office. While his political dynasty was known to include at least 6 members, the full list shows 16, including a nephew who happens to be the Philippine ambassador to Switzerland. Other early birds in the SALN reveal are mostly from the minority, including the Makabayan Bloc and the 3 congressmen of Akbayan. Kamanggagawa Party List Representative Eli San Fernando encouraged his colleagues to also publicize their SALNs. For him, every Filipino has the right to know how elected officials got their wealth, as every centavo of their salary comes from the hard work of every citizen. His suggestion, post the SALNs in the House's website or Facebook page instead of the usual complex process.
Hayaan natin na usisain yung buhay natin ng mga tao. When we entered public service, nag-decide din tayo na yung private life natin ay sinasakripisyo na natin at ibinubukas natin yung buhay natin sa mapang-usisang mata ng mga tao. Gawin natin kahiyahiya yung korupsyon. Gawin natin kahiyahiya yung extravagant and lavish lifestyle. Kung tingin naman natin walang dapat ikahiya, edi public natin.
For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
We're just gonna take a quick break, but coming up, a town in Bulacan submits
You're watching the Big Story here on One News. As the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, moves to open its doors to the public, new evidence surfaces. This time from a town in Bulacan reporting ghost projects worth roughly 700 million pesos. Mobile journalist Ales de los Santos has the report.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure is promising more transparency, saying it plans to open its hearings to the public so Filipinos can see where the investigation on questionable government projects is headed. But that move will take a little more time. No hearings are scheduled next week as one of its members, former DPWH Secretary Babe Singson, will be unavailable. The fact-finding body is also ironing out the rules for the live streaming, from which platform will host it, to whether previous hearings can be released, and other key details is still under review.
We hear the clamor of the Filipino people for more transparency, and we are pushing to live stream the hearings as soon as possible. However, before we do so, the ICI would need to study and draft the rules of procedure and parameters to allow for live streaming, taking into consideration sensitive information and the constitutional rights of invited resource persons.
Meanwhile, the ICI clarified the statement made by its chairman, former Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes Jr., during a Senate hearing, referring to an alleged 1% kickback tied to the burned-down DPWH facility in Quezon City.
This was based on the report submitted to us by Bryce Hernandez. It is of note that this information is only alleged. This matter will still need to be verified by the Commission.
Also before the Commission today, a representative from the local government of Bulacan presented evidence on alleged ghost and substandard projects in their town. Attorney Izay Nunag, secretary to the Municipal Council of Paumbong, personally turned over records detailing 11 flood control projects worth around 700 million pesos. She said the projects were among those flagged on the Sumbong sa Pangulo website. According to the council's findings, some of these projects were marked as completed even though they were either substandard or entirely non-existent. Nunag also said that the supposed projects had no coordination with the local government unit, a claim supported by reports from the barangays where the projects were supposedly built.
Wala po talagang project or flood control project na nandun po. Yes, hindi ko magamit yung term. Nasa 700 million po. May mga barangay reports pong attached. Base po doon ay wala pong coordination.
Nunag has refused to name the contractors allegedly linked to the questionable projects, but noted that their findings were also supported by the on-site inspections and reports from the local government. The municipality of Paumbong falls under the jurisdiction of the DPWH Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office, where dismissed District Engineer Henry Alcantara and Assistant District Engineer Bryce Hernandez were allegedly involved in anomalous infrastructure deals. They sought the ICI's help to determine the real status of the projects and to finally address their town's long-standing flooding problems. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Now, DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon has clarified that no computer explosion caused the fire that gutted a DPWH building in Quezon City. Initial findings from the Bureau of Fire Protection point to a short circuit in the ceiling of the third floor of the Bureau of Research and Standards building. In a press briefing, Secretary Dizon confirmed that the blaze affected the said building and not the nearby Region 4B office, as earlier reported by Assistant Secretary Melody Villar. Villar has since apologized, noting the Region 4B building remains safe. The DPWH chief also stressed that the fire-hit building does not implement projects and none of the documents lost were related to ongoing flood control investigations. He said the information has been relayed to the Independent Commission on Infrastructure and backup digital copies of some manuals and reports are reportedly still available.
Ongoing tong investigation namin sa BRS. Pero as of today, wala tayong nakikitang critical na dokumento dito, no, na which may be critical in the ongoing investigation.
Meanwhile, National Bureau of Investigation personnel have entered the fire-hit DPWH office to determine whether the blaze was accidental or a possible case of arson, following orders from the
here in the Philippines. Welcome to the Big Story. Janelle, may I call you Janelle?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
How long since you visited the Philippines last?
Well, I haven't been to Manila in 24 years. So it was very nice to return. I did bring my children here last Christmas to Leyte. That's where my family's from, is from Cebu. So yeah, it was very nice.
So before we ask you about the U.S., what did you think of the Philippines, and where do you see opportunities in terms of, trade and investments?
Oh, there's tremendous opportunity. We've over the last 4 days learned of all growth and the investment that the country has invested in, more importantly, into the education and into their free trade zones and the growth, more importantly, into transportation. There's great opportunity, and that's why we're here.
And, well, Arizona is known for a haven for retirees. And a lot of Filipino health workers live there and cater to this growing community. Do you see an opportunity here in that regard?
Yeah, so Arizona is, as you said, the population is over 55, majority. A lot of our new, I guess you could say, those who are in the Philippine workforce are in healthcare. And so many go and invest in creating senior facility homes or support senior care. And so there's a tremendous growth of business owners in Arizona who support the healthcare system. And with the growth here in the Philippines, both in the investment into the healthcare programs and the workforce, I wouldn't be surprised to see a better partnership and growth in Arizona.
Now let's turn to the situation in the U.S. It's become very difficult for immigrants, and especially, Asians, us Asians. How would you assess the situation?
It's a challenging time with this administration, and both as being an Asian American and a person of color, trying to deal with the current climates and challenges that face us. But there are ways to proactively try to manage what we can control, which in Arizona, we've proactively created the International Trade Committee, which has come here to build both relationships, both not just economic, cultural, but also appease those who reside in Arizona and ensure them about practices that we can better work together and address some of these challenges.
So initiatives by the state and not so much relying on the federal government.
Absolutely. Because so many budget cuts have happened, there has been, the only way you can respond to that is to reinvest our state programs and funding into what we've identified as where our community needs most, our economy needs most. And so the state has done a proactive approach by going and creating this committee, visiting countries, identifying where we can align. For example, in Arizona, we're the largest because of TSMC with the semiconductor business in Arizona, located and headquartered in Arizona. Just last year, we had $16 billion invested into this program, which then has a tremendous opportunity for many countries, many areas within that to build out this entire new vertical and new area of business for everyone.
So this is how the Philippines can also reach out to the U.S. by state, especially with influential legislators like you.
Yes. It's fortunate on the International Trade Committee, the Commerce Committee, and the Science and Technology Committee. So bringing new advanced technologies, looking at, new innovation hubs, which is something that, when we go and visit countries, we see what new products may align and what we may be interested in bringing to the U.S. In addition, how our university can help certain programs. For example, Arizona State University is #1 in innovation in the country for the last 10 years and has an amazing partnership with Mapua University. Investing in that partnership, which is a dual program, and the students graduate with a dual degree, and building the workforce, both in the Philippines and in the US, in an area that we're in demand, is really where we're going in the future. And that's how we build the partnership. That's how we address the challenges that both our countries' administrations are dealing with, similar challenges with the new changes. So, yeah.
Janelle, you mentioned semiconductors, and that's one of our like baby industries here in the Philippines. Everybody always like tries to nurture that. It's one of our strongest exports, if not the strongest export. Is that why your delegation is here? Or
it is definitely one of the reasons why we're here. The delegation started in Indonesia, and we're ending here in the Philippines, and understanding better not only what you have been doing and how we can assist and how we can work together, because it's a true trade relationship. And so even though you're saying it's a baby in the Philippines, you've been in this space for 20 years. But, investing into building the program more, or what support and identifying certain resources, is important to us, because this is a new area that will vastly change everyone's economy. And so we're hoping to build that relationship here in the Philippines.
And Janelle, you carry a lot of experience, 25 years in federal government affairs, nonprofits, and even business development. And what's nice is that you were raised by immigrants, Filipino, so you're Filipino-American. Tell us how that has shaped you as a legislator.
Oh, tremendously. I mean, my father, who was a Vietnam veteran and has the history of bringing, working hard and having that history with the Philippines. As someone who's a legislator, you understand your roots, you understand where you come from, you understand the demand of working hard and how important an education is, which is what both my parents came to the U.S. to pursue, that American dream, an American dream that's very challenged right now with the current climate. And so, having that as a legislator, knowing how both my parents and many in my community and in my state and in the country feel, because that American dream seems even further, right? And so as a legislator, it's important to actually show them again how much it's still there. It's redirecting that energy, or redirecting the path is just slightly different. It's not maybe certain verticals or certain spaces, certain jobs, but other new jobs, new businesses, and new ways to reach that dream. And it's our responsibility as a legislator to open those pathways, creating legislation and policy to build new ways to reach that dream. And so, but for us, the only way we can understand to build and create those policies is working with our partners, such as the Philippines, to understand where their economic situation is, how we can match, and how we can work together.
And how did you assuage, Filipino businessmen and small business owners about the Trump tariffs, the Liberation Day tariffs?
I mean, our Philippine chamber in Arizona and our Philippine chamber here constantly have to battle these questions. The tariffs are a challenge. You're talking about, a country that's been an ally for a very long time, and it's slightly offensive. And many, not just the Philippines, feel that way. And it's hard, for the business owners and those who've invested that time to change that. And, it's a conversation that still needs to be had with this administration. We're not even a year in. And look how many challenges have already been facing us.
Exactly.
Immigration too. I mean, PhilAms. We've spoken to a bunch of PhilAms also through the past year, and just checking in on the situation on our Filipino immigrants over there. There have been reports, of course, arrests here and there. How would you say that the situation has tempered slightly?
No,
I would not. The protests have even become bigger.
It's aggressive now. It's even aggressive than what you may think. So it was one thing. So here, Filipino culture, we follow by the laws. We've been taught to, work hard, play by the rules, and eventually reach success. But what if those rules no longer apply? And so if you're a Filipino American citizen, or you have a visa and you're going to the courthouse to renew your visa in the proper amount of time, but then you're greeted by ICE, who doesn't give you a chance, and then you're getting detained and moved to and by your family on site, even though you did everything possible. That is what is happening locally in every major city. And just last week in New York, the other day in New York City, they had went straight into Chinatown, into areas that are high pockets of high Asian American immigrants, and knowing that even if you're a citizen, they will unlawfully challenge you and say, no, you're being arrested. And by culture, we listen. We don't fight. We just, we listen to the authority. But in truth, that authority is riding a really fine line because they're actually violating all of our human rights in the U.S.
So what's the alternative?
The alternative to as a citizen or as an alternative to dealing with immigration?
Dealing with this attitude of law enforcers.
I mean, the community comes together now. We've come in Arizona, unlike the rest of the country, we dealt with this exact same situation with SB 1070, where they identify those who, based on racial, description, that they would be arrested and also detained. And so we have our other states how to best address it, which is creating hotlines and information systems and best practices, how to be proactive and avoid certain situations, how the community can support those who have separated families, how to deal with supporting them financially, because that's the biggest hit. If you're not employed or whoever's your breadwinner is gone, the family is challenged tremendously. And it's heartbreaking watching that. And as a legislator, you can only do so much. You bring as much attention to the issue, but together with the community, the church, and organizations, we've created infrastructures that quietly coordinate and help these families. Quietly in the sense that, we don't want to address and bring big light to how we operate over the next 3.5 years. So
we thank you for your time. This has made the community, I suppose, stronger. Thank you so much for making time for us here in the Big Story. That was Junelle Cavero, State Representative of Arizona, USA.
Right before we say goodbye on this Thursday night, here is our big picture for tonight. Have you guys ever wondered what Paw Patrol would look like in real life? Well, the government of Quezon Town in Bukidnon has recognized 3 search and rescue dogs. We have Venom, Paul, and Bella. And that is for their assistance in the search and retrieval operations following a landslide there on October 18. The highly trained canines were instrumental in the successful retrieval of the senior citizen couple killed by this landslide. And that's after 5 days of a struggled search against unstable terrain, thick mud, and unpredictable weather. Rescuers said the dogs' precision and skills became the key turning point in the mission. Thank you for your service, Venom, Paul, and Bella.
Oh, I hope they were rewarded after a long day, right?
What do you think is a perfect dog reward? Steak or what do you think? What do you reward your dogs with?
Treats.
Yeah.
They like liver. They like liver so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Chicken.
My dogs are
Yeah. And
Chicken.
lots of cuddles. They should
love,
be cuddled.
lots of petting.
Lots of petting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure they're getting that now from all the citizens in Quezon Town in Bukidnon.
Okay, and on that note, that's it for the Big Story tonight. Thank you so much for watching.
We're back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We'll be seeing you then.
Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.